All right, so we just listened through Hollow Front, their brand new album, The Price of Dreaming. So now we're going to talk about it a little bit, take turns telling our thoughts, and then take turns giving our ratings. So, Jordan, what are your thoughts on this album?
I thought it was pretty average. It's kind of lacking a bit. It was definitely slower. Uh, there was still some like heavy parts in the first half, but the second half is definitely where it picked up way more for me. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. Scroll down a little bit so I can see the song names again. There was one song. I think it was. I don't know. I think it was The Price of Dreaming. That or maybe. Yeah, it was one where it had like a bunch of two steps and it kept like picking up faster, so that kind of woke me up a little bit, and then from there it just kept getting better and better. Uh, until the end, I feel like the last song was lacking a little bit. It didn't
Yeah.
really wrap up the album.
Yeah, it was kind of just
Just kind of like
singy.
another single type
I
song.
see. I'm the opposite. I think the first half of the album was better for me, because it was very. It was mostly. It didn't have a lot of heavy parts, but it had a lot of riffs. It was very like. There was a lot of like nice little, technicalities in the guitar work that I noticed that I liked a lot. There was less of
Although
that
I
in
did
the
like
second half.
I think Self-Sabotage, that was a good one.
I think
First
that's
half.
the one I put in. My standout tracks. Yes.
And The Price of Dreaming and Better Off. No, not Better Off. Dear Sons.
Yeah.
Dear Sons was really good. I
Yeah.
like that one a lot.
With a little emotional impact in there to boot.
And Two Worlds Away was actually really good too. I like that one a lot. Instrument wise, I mean, it was pretty solid. The guitars were really cool. I liked the tone. The tone was really good, and it wasn't overpowering. It wasn't too loud. It wasn't too soft. It was just right. The synth was a little bit here and there, but it was still good.
Yeah, so I think they could have. Taken off that last song, because the length is like 45 minutes. Take off the last song, The Running Away. I didn't get a lot from that track.
Yeah.
Take that out and then I wouldn't put Heritage as the last for the heavy. It is a nice heavy song, but maybe like Dear Sons or the Self-Sabotage. One of those would have been a nice like ender, I think, or Price of Dreaming, the title track.
I feel like Dear Sons would be good.
Yeah. Continue. Sorry.
So, yeah, I mean, the bass was actually audible. There's too many parts where the bass was like kind of like standout, but it held its ground.
Yeah, there was they gave the guy some room.
Drumming was above average. That was pretty good. They kept it interesting, I feel like, instead of just playing just straight.
Yeah, a couple ghost notes here and there.
Also, the vocals were really good, especially the clean vocals. I definitely liked him more than the main guy. Although the main guy did do some like pitch screaming, kind of like that Architect style.
Yeah. I felt some Architect's influence in there.
He did a little bit of like actual singing too, so that was good.
Yeah, I think they both did. Yeah.
But overall, it's I wouldn't say it's too groundbreaking. A lot of it reminded me of like Erra, just a little bit more subdued and not as technical and not as heavy.
Yeah,
Erra definitely goes like more towards the heavy than this. This is more of like pop metalcore kind of.
It reminded me of Dreamwake too.
Yeah,
Dreamwake
a little bit
album
of
we listened to.
Although I did like the Dreamwake album.
I will say that I did like that.
So it was pretty average for me.
Okay, so I've got a bunch of thoughts here. I wrote it down, a whole bunch of shit. So yes, very Architects influence, at least in the first half. I felt a lot of Architects in there. Like, this is kind of where Architects should be, but they're not.
Yeah, right.
The tone Yeah, I love the guitar tone. It's one of my favorite like styles of guitar tone. Um, Decent bass presence. There was, like I said, a few songs in there where they gave the guy some space to play around with the bass. Not too much, but enough. I think for me the vocals, at least the screaming, a little one note at times. He
Yeah.
didn't do a lot of variation, but I feel like that's kind of a thing that people are doing in like this progressive metalcore. Like Dreamwake has the same thing. They kind of just stick to that one sound. I think
It's almost
that's
like that's kind of like a second thought for the
yeah,
screaming
it's like
vocals.
it's a way of them making the guitar and stuff a little more of a focus than anything. Um, Nice synth throughout there. Not too much of it. Could have used more. That's just me personally. I like synth. There was a few songs where they really infused that in there, but some tracks just didn't have any at all. So it was like, okay. Um, I've heard lots of comparisons to this band and Polaris, like several times, like in some comments on videos and on Facebook. But for me, when I listen to Polaris, I don't think Polaris is very consistent in their tone, and I think this album at least was pretty like 90. I'd say like 95% consistent in the sound and style and tone.
There was a couple songs where it was like a little bit different, more like riffy, where it
Yeah.
sounded kind of like Texas in July a little bit, like
Hmm.
kind of August Burns Red, And then there was like the more like technical
Yeah. And then there was
singing.
like the Heritage, which was like a like ass beater track.
Yeah, just straight up.
Um, but overall, I think these guys have a little bit more consistency.
Yeah.
It was still a very fun listen. Very similar in style to the Dreamwake album. Dreamwake is still my top right now. No one's dethroned Dreamwake for my album of the year yet. I don't think this one had enough. I wrote down heart. I don't know if that's the best term for it, but it just didn't. I don't
There
know.
were some songs, but it just didn't hit as hard as it feels like it should.
Yeah. But again, it's still a very fun listen. There was definitely some tracks on here I would throw on a playlist. However, so for the negative, I will say it's pretty standard fare for progressive melodic metalcore. Polaris, Currents, Dreamwake, Era, they all kind of have that sound. Era's a little bit more different. They're kind of a little bit more different than the other bands I just mentioned, but still kind of, you know what I mean. They just kind of.
Yeah.
I don't think they do too much out of the box here, but I don't think it does I don't think it does them a disservice. I think it they have just enough in there to like can make it sound like this is Hollow Front, and not someone else. So I'll give them that. Um, a little
I agree
lot.
with that and disagree with that a little bit.
Yeah. Like that's kind of what I'm saying. Like I think there's just enough to make it sound like themselves, but it's very standard for this sound.
Yeah.
It's like I invent animate riffs in there. You know, um, little light on the breakdowns for me. There was like
Yeah.
2 or 3 total actual breakdowns.
I feel like there's more two steps and breakdowns.
Yeah, one very solid breakdown. But again, like Dreamwake was kind of the same. They only had a couple breakdowns. So I wish they would push that heaviness a little more. I think it falls into the Currents. Like that's why I don't like Currents very much. They play it very safe. I think, my opinion.
Yeah.
They don't do. They're good, but they just don't do enough to really pull themselves out of separate themselves from the genre. But this album I think was better than anything I've heard from Currents. My opinion. I had a very fun listen through it. Standout tracks for me: Self Sabotage, Dear Sons, and Heritage. Like the message of Heritage. And Dear Sons, another very touching one. And Self Sabotage was just like super cool riffs. Like it was a very fun track. Love that one. But that's my thoughts. So, ratings. What would you rate this?
Let me go back to my notes for the Dreamwake album because I'm not gonna give it as high as the Dreamwake album because I definitely enjoyed that one more. I gave Dreamwake a 9, so I'll give it a 7.
Yeah.
It's pretty average.
Uh, I will give this
Not bad.
I'm gonna give it an 8. I had kind of decided about halfway through that I was thinking an 8, and I don't think anything really dissuaded me from it. I did think the ending was a little weak for that track.
Yeah.
I could have just cut it out again, but still super solid. I think I still found a lot I liked about this album, so I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. So, good job to Holofront. Definitely check it out. I really liked it.